Hi everyone, a very good morning to all of you. Today is 14th of March and I welcome you all to the Hindu newspaper analysis discussion. So guys, in this particular session, we are going to take up entire analysis of Hindu newspaper. We are going to discuss all important articles with their background. Also, I am going to provide you synoptic notes of this entire session and these notes are available on our Telegram channel. You can visit the Telegram channel and can download explainer notes of articles that we are going to discuss. Moreover, these articles we specifically discuss keeping in mind the requirements of the examination, and every article you will find that it has been categorized as context, main body, way forward. So let's get started with the discussion for today. But first of all, let's see briefly an overview of newspaper so that we can understand that which articles are important in the today's newspaper. So let's get started with that. Let's get started with that. Okay. Uh, Fine. So just a minute, guys. So by mistake, I opened the international edition of the Hindu newspaper. Fine. So let's open the Delhi edition of Hindu newspaper because from that we usually do our analysis. So let's get started with this. Let's get started with this. Now, the first article that we have here, is Supreme Court to hear plea to include CGI on Election Commission selection panel. We'll see this particular article for the examination as what it is containing. The next article that we have is will publish details of poll bonds and time, says Chief Election Commissioner. So electoral bond scheme was recently held as invalid by Supreme Court, and Supreme Court has asked that State Bank of India should give information that how much money was contributed through electoral bond to Election Commission, and Election Commission should keep that particular information in public domain. So Election Commission, Chief Election Commissioner has said to Supreme Court that we will give this particular information as soon as possible. State Bank of India has shared the information with the Election Commission. Then guys, further moving on, after that we don't have much important relevant articles here. Moving on guys, in then city section, regional section, largely the local issues, fine, such kind of things have been given. So we don't have a much important aspects here. Directly we'll reach to editorial page. Now as we reach to editorial page, first article that we have here is India's R&D funding, breaking down the numbers. So this article we are going to see with respect to education GS paper number 2. Then here side we have this article, wrong messaging. Now this particular article is talking about the timing of Citizenship Amendment Act. So guys, recently what has happened, government of India has notified CAA rules. Okay, now Citizenship Amendment Act came in 2019, and for nearly 5 years rules of CAA were not notified. Now what actually CEA rules were not notified. So basically guys, what happened, CEA provides the relaxed citizenship to the people from Bangladesh, Afghanistan, Pakistan, fine, which belong to which belong to the minority religions in those particular countries. Now article is saying that the timing of this particular thing shows that there is some political inclination that is there. Now guys, this particular article does not contain much of a substance for examination, just it is saying that the government has some political imperative in the mind. Here we have this article, a fresh stance. Now this particular article talks about a recent free trade agreement that has been signed with the signed with the 4 European countries. We'll see this particular article in detail. The Karnataka Civil Engineer Bill, its pathway. Guys, the article particularly specifically pertains to Karnataka. I will not advise you to go too much in detail for the UPSC examination. If you are preparing for Karnataka PCS, then it is together a different thing. Okay, then further we have this article on next page, higher engagement, better learning. We'll take this particular article with respect to the examination. This is with respect to education and related issues. Okay, too many trackers spoil the mountains. Fine. Then Russian dominance in India's arms import decline. So yesterday, if you remember, we have discussed the CIPRI report, which talks about that India happens to be the biggest importer of weapons in 2019 to 2023 period, and Russia contributes 36% of weapons to India. So India imports 36% of its weapons from Russia. Okay, so that is about it. However, guys, see, still Russia is the biggest supplier of weapons to India, but the role has come down. Fine, it was exporting around 76% in 2019-13, and now it has come to 36%. Okay, why? Because we are diversifying our partners in terms of the defense imports. Also, there are a lot of sanctions that have been imposed on Russia and all such things. If you remember, yesterday we have already discussed this particular report. Then further moving on in text and context, we have this particular article that on judges and bureaucrats joining politics. Now, basically, guys, what has happened? Recently we have seen that one of our Calcutta High Court judge and one of an IPS officer has joined the politics. So we'll see this particular article, and with respect to GS paper number 4 ethics, we are going to see this particular article. Then further moving on, how did Indians end up in Russia-Ukraine war? So recently we have seen that there was this particular issue that many of Indians, they were recruited in Russia for many support roles, and now they are being forced to fight in the war. So many of agencies, they dupe people. Basically, many of the recruitment agencies, they promise people that you will be paid good salaries, and they end up in this conflict situations. Okay, then bibliography article. So this article is talking about the premise here. Fine, from the front lines, what we see, we look at suffering. Then further moving on, hacker for hire gang links to Pune police planted. Now, not much important article for the examination. Canadian probe into Niger case. Fine, is not over New Zealand deputy PM. So basically, guys, this issue, what happened? So basically, Niger, a Khalistani sympathizer. Fine. So basically, it was alleged by the Canada that India has played a role. Fine, in the basically India has played a role in this. Fine, the killing of Niger. Now India said that we are not involved in such kind of a thing, but still the probes etc. are going on. Not important for examination, but just one thing you need to keep in mind. See, nitty-gritties are not important, but one thing you need to keep in mind, that guys, that such kind of a things have become a recent irritant between India-Canada relations. Okay, then we have their political articles etc. Fine, Uttarakhand bill on uniform civil code get president's nod. So recently we have seen that Uttarakhand became the first state to came out with the UCC. Then here largely we have political articles. No need to go too much in detail. Then guys, here on page number 16 we have this article. Supreme Court stops Assam government move to denotify rhino habitat. We'll see this article. Here on side we have this article. PM launches portal for marginalized sections. We'll see this article also. Then further moving on. Moving on in this direction, panel recommends ban on ferocious dogs. Okay. Modi British PM says progress on free trade agreement negotiations. So I will take this particular reference in one of an editorial article. Then is e-commerce for MSME exports. We'll see this particular article. Below we have this article, REITs, InvITs and municipal bonds offer high growth opportunity. Okay. Then guys, Nepal PM wins vote of confidence third time in 15 months. Chinese military team visits Maldives, Nepal, Sri Lanka. Okay, then we have the sports section. So guys, this is all about the important articles in the today's newspaper, and now let's discuss all these relevant articles one by one in the detail. Okay, let's get started with these articles. Okay, so as I have said you that every class we start with a we take the classes with the help of these synoptic notes. You can download these particular notes. Every class we start with a GS quotation, and this particular quotation is helpful for your answer writing, as well as this particular GS quotation can be used in the essays. So today we are going to take quotation from J.S. Mill. We are going to take quotation from J.S. Mill, John Stuart Mill. Just a minute. Fine. So J.S. Mill says, a person may cause evil to others not only by his actions but by his inaction, and in either case he is justly accountable to them for injury. So often a person's actions don't lead to injury, a person's inaction also leads to injury. For example, if doctor shows an attitude of apathy, if doctor shows an inaction. If a civil servant shows inaction to important inaction to many things that are happening in the society which deserves some action, if their inaction is shown by civil servant, then also injustice will happen. So inaction as well as action both might lead to injustice, and if such injustice is happening, then a person is accountable for that loss, a person is accountable for injury. Now, when we talk about civil servants, they particularly need to be prompt. They particularly need to be proactive. They need not to be reactive, they need to be proactive, because as their actions are important, their inaction also might lead to certain consequences. You can use this particular idea in GS paper number 2, governance, as well as in ethics and essay, you can use it. So this is guys all about this, and now let's get started with first article for today. So first article I am taking from page 1. Supreme Court to hear plea to include CJI on Election Commission selection panel. Now, before going in this particular article, let's understand some basic background information, and once we understand this background information, we'll go in details of this particular article. So basically guys, understand this thing. Article number 324 of the Constitution of India provides for Election Commission of India, and Election Commission of India is responsible for superintendence conduct of elections in India. Now, understand this thing guys, that Election Commission of India happens to be one of the most important body to preserve the parliamentary democracy in India. Now, when we talk about a democracy's cornerstone is free, fair and transparent elections. And therefore, Election Commission of India happens to be an important body. Now, guys, understand this particular thing, that Supreme Court has observed in Anup Barnwal case. So, in Anup Barnwal case, Supreme Court has observed this particular thing, that we don't have any doubt on integrity of people who are sitting in Election Commission of India. But even a person having honesty, integrity might have some political biasness, might be inclined towards a political party, might be inclined towards a political leader. And if this happens in Election Commission of India, then it might be an obstacle in free, fair and transparent elections. So therefore, we need to ensure that in Election Commission of India, only the people who have neutrality in terms of the political, who have a political neutrality should be appointed. Now guys, understand this particular thing, that actually how the Chief Election Commissioner and Election Commissioner were appointed earlier. So basically president used to make appointment of Chief Election Commissioner as well as Election Commissioner. Now you know this particular thing guys, that when we talk about president acts on the aid and advice of Council of Minister. So indirectly what was happening earlier, Council of Minister or the ruling government was playing a very important role in appointment of Election Commissioner and Chief Election Commissioner of India. So basically what happened, Supreme Court in Anup Barnwal case suggested Government of India that you need to come out with a collegium type of a system for appointment of Chief Election Commissioner and Election Commissioner. Supreme Court directed in Anup Barnwal judgment to the government that what you need to do, you need to ensure that CEC and EC should be appointed by the president, but on the advice given by a selection committee. Now this selection committee will consist Prime Minister, leader of opposition in the Lok Sabha. If there is no recognized leader of opposition in Lok Sabha, then leader of the single largest party in opposition will be there, and then Chief Justice of India will be there. So Prime Minister, leader of opposition, Chief Justice of India, three people should be there in collegium, and that collegium, this selection body will appoint the Chief Election Commissioner and Election Commissioner. This direction was given in Anup Barnwal case. Now what happened in response, Government of India came out with an act, and this particular act was Chief Election Commission and Other Election Commission Appointment, Condition of Service and Terms of Office Act 2023. And in this particular act, they came out with a body, and this body had some different members. So in this particular body, there will be Prime Minister, there will be leader of opposition, but in place of CGI, who was there? There was a cabinet minister. That is there. Fine. So CGI was replaced by the cabinet minister. Now you see, cabinet minister is one who cabinet minister will be from ruling party. So prime minister is from ruling party, cabinet minister is from ruling party. In 3-member body, 2 member are from the government ruling party. So what will happen? Again, it has bypassed the Anup Barnwal's spirit. What has done? Again, the government got the dominance, and also this particular act provides that selection committee can move forward even if there is a vacancy. Means even if leader of opposition is not there, still they can make the appointment. Now guys, recently we have seen that resignations have happened in the election commission, and now there are the vacancy in election commission. Now in election commission, new appointments have to be made. So certain NGOs, they have a concern that given the present constitution of this selection committee, where CGI is not there, this particular body will appoint those particular people in election commission which are biased towards the political party in power. And now you see elections are coming. So general elections of 2024 are coming. So therefore, in this particular point, we need to ensure that there is no biasness. So therefore, what has happened? A plea has been made to Supreme Court to hear that whether the CJI, Chief Justice of India, should be included into the election commission selection panel. And this particular matter has been listed as an urgent matter, and Supreme Court will hear it. So we will follow this particular development continuously, and if Supreme Court gives some new ruling, some new direction, we will see that particular thing. So what actually is happening? There is a request to stay the implementation of Section 7 of Chief Election Commission and Other Election Commission Act 2023. Okay, so this is something that has come. Beyond this, guys, nothing important is there. I hope that you have understood it along with the background. Now moving on to next article. Okay, so here we have this article, India's R&D funding breaking down the numbers. India's R&D funding breaking down the number. Now this particular article, we are going to see with respect to GS paper number 2, issues related to education. Now, understand this particular thing, guys, that when we talk about research and development, it plays a very important role in economic growth of a nation. And we have seen this particular thing that basically countries of South Asia and Southeast Asia that have become economic power, they have become economic power by focusing on research and development. Same goes with the developed countries of the West. Now, article says this particular thing that actually now government has started focusing on R&D, research and development expenditure. What has happened? Recently, interim budget 24-25 was announced. We have discussed the entire interim budget in our videos also. So in this interim budget, 1 lakh crore rupees were announced to increase research and development, to improve the innovation ecosystem. 1 lakh crore rupees were kept aside. Okay, now if you see, not only monetary allocation for research and development is being increased, but even government has given a slogan to focus on research and development. Now you already might be knowing about the iconic slogan Jai Jawan Jai Kisan, given by Lal Bahadur Shastri ji. So Jai Jawan Jai Kisan, fine, was given by Lal Bahadur Shastri ji. Now Jai Jawan Jai Kisan got modified in Jai Jawan Jai Kisan, Jai Vigyan by Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji. Okay, so Jai Jawan, hail the soldier, hail farmer, and hail science. Fine. And then it became Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan, Jai Vigyan, Jai Anusandhan. Anusandhan means research. Okay, so we hail soldier, farmer, science. And present Prime Minister has given this call of Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan, Jai Vigyan and Jai Anusandhan. So it focuses on increasing the research and development. Now, basically guys, understand this particular thing that it is very important. But if we see, now see, over the last few years, we find this particular thing that R&D in terms of money, in terms of numbers have increased, but when we compare R&D in comparison to India's GDP, it is not increased that much. And if I give you the data, right now, as a percent of GDP, just 0.64% of our GDP equivalent we are spending in R&D. and it is very much less. If we compare it with the other developed and emerging economies, it is very much less. China spends around 2.4% of their GDP equivalent in R&D. Germany spends around 3.1% of their GDP equivalent in R&D. South Korea spends 4.8%, US spends 3.5%. Okay, India is spending 0.64%. So it is very much less. Now, Niti Aayog says that if we want to become a $5 trillion economy in the short term, we need to spend at least 2 to 2.5% of our GDP in R&D, but we are spending just 0.64%. Now, guys, if we see on some other dimensions of research and development, India has improved. For example, guys, if we talk about the PhD scholars, okay, researchers, India is producing third highest number of PhD scholars after US and China. Fine, 40,000 plus PhD scholars were produced by India. Fine. So we are third highest after India and after China and USA. Also, when we talk about the research output, fine, India is doing one of the highest research publications in the world. So 3 lakh research publications were issued by India in 2022, and here also we are ranking third globally. So research publications, we are third highest. In terms of the research scholars, we are again third highest. And then when we talk about, guys, the patent grants, okay, we are 6th globally. So on we rank in top 6 in terms of the patents that are being filed. So on all these particular aspects, India is doing good. Now, when we talk about research and development R&D expenditure, if we do a little bit of a breakdown, we find this particular thing that major R&D in India is done by the universities, by higher education institution, by government, not by private sector. And if I show you the breakup here, you see, when we talk about the gross expenditure on research and development, it is driven by government sector. Central government contributes 43.7% in R&D. State governments contribute 6.7% in R&D. Higher educational institution contributes 8.8% in R&D. And the public sector units, industries, public sector industry contribute 4.4%. How much private sector is contributing in R&D? Just 36.4% in 21-22, which is very much less. Now, if you compare private sector contribution in developed countries, they are contributing around 70% in R&D. In India, private sector is contributing way less. Now, actually, what has happened in many of the developed countries, private sector, they fund R&D labs. Okay, so basically funding by private sector, it is directed towards the autonomy R&D labs, and this is followed in China, Japan, South Korea, USA, and around 70% of expenditure is by private sector. But in India, it is half, around 36.4%. So what we need to do, we need to nudge the private sector to invest in R&D. So here a multi-pronged approach, a multi-stakeholder approach is needed to address this particular challenge. So basically what we need to do, we need to come out with the policies. We need to give incentives to private companies to invest in R&D. For example, guys, there was one suggestion that was given in one of an article we discussed here on our platform also, that it is said that, see this particular thing, that for example, we have Companies Act 2013. Under Companies Act 2013, Section 135 mandates companies above a particular threshold that they have to commit expenditure in CSR, corporate social responsibility expenditure they have to commit. So it has been said that, see, if a private sector is investing in R&D, if they are sponsoring some lab who is doing R&D, the money that they are sponsoring to that particular lab, they should be allowed to claim it as a CSR expenditure of them. Okay, such kind of incentives are needed. Then after that, guys, here it has been provided that, see, first of all, here it has been provided that we need to focus on a dual strategy. This dual strategy is this, that on one hand, we need to encourage the private sector to fortify academia's research infrastructure. Okay, they should sponsor, they should finance the research institutions, universities, or the institutions such as IISc. Secondly, what they need to, now see, if they will sponsor these academic research institutions, they will come out with certain breakthroughs, and those breakthroughs at the end of the day will help the private sector. Now see, there is one example, National Deep tech startup policies there. National deep tech startup policies there. Now, what are the deep tech startups? Startups working in AI, startups working in semiconductor technology, okay, startups working in autonomous driving, such kind of startups, fine, who are deep in the technology, they are called as the deep tech startups. Recently, what has happened? Government has come out with the National Deep Tech Startup Policy. In this particular thing, what government is going to do? Fine, in this government is going to do, government will provide the hand holding to these deep tech startups. Now, these deep tech startups also need a technical assistance. So what we can do, government can give the private sector incentive that you support the deep tech startup policy, you give us the technical inputs and we will incentivize you. So through this, a collaboration can be made. Also, guys, what has happened recently, Anusandhan National Research Foundation Act is passed, NRF Act is passed, in which government is going to mobilize 50,000 crore rupees in R&D in the next 5 years. So this particular act, it is a dedicated attempt to increase R&D, and here, guys, a government aims to mobilize 70% plus expenditure from private sector. Then also what we need to do now, this particular act, it aims to bridge the India's persistent R&D investment gap. Okay. Also, guys, there is a need to foster interdisciplinary collaboration. There is a need to follow global standards in R&D. Okay, there is a need that government should not do it as a one-time exercise, that government will push R&D continuously. The R&D expenditure should be increased and government need to push it. So this is, guys, all about the dimensions that have been mentioned in this particular article. So I hope that you have understood it. And here there is this particular table also that is given, comparison of research productivity and innovation metrics in the selected countries. So India, researchers per million, PhDs produced annually. Now, India, we have just 262 researchers per million. US, 4452 researchers per million. UK, 4491 researchers per million. China, 1687 researchers per million. In India, we have one of the lowest, just 262. Okay, PhDs produced in India globally, it is high, 40,000 plus in 2021. But still, guys, if you compare the population of India, then you see the number of PhD degrees, it is still less. Fine, then the publication, fine, so around 3 lakh in 2022, fine, around 15 lakh by USA, okay, fine, 15 lakh 6,000 it is. Then we have the UK, then we have China's number here. So here you can see this, and these data can be quoted. Okay, so that is all, guys, about it. I hope that you have understood. And now moving to next article, higher engagement, better learning. Now this particular article we are going to see with respect to GS paper number 2, issues related to education. GS paper number 2, issues related to education. So let's get started with this article. Okay. So basically, if you have followed our newspaper analysis, we discussed it also. So recently what happened, ASAR, Annual Status of Education Report 2023 was released. Now this particular report is released by Pratham NGO. And almost every year they release this particular report. Now this particular year's ASAR report, they have highlighted learning deficit. By the way, they every year highlight the learning deficit there that is there in India. This year the focus group was children in the age group of 14 to 18. Okay, now they say that in the age group of 14 to 18, around 86.8% of individuals, they are enrolled in educational institution, which is a good thing. 86.8% children in 14 to 18 are in educational institution. But are they learning? Fine, no, they are not learning properly. There is a learning gap. Out of these people, only 25%, fine, out of this, 1/4, that is 25%, cannot read a class 2 level text fluently. Okay, out of this 25% cannot read the text of class 2, 14 to 18 years of children, fine, 25% of them cannot read the text of class 2, which is something concerning. So therefore, we need to improve the learning output in our educational institution. Number one, understand this particular thing, that there is engagement and attendance issues in educational institution. Students are enrolled in public schools, gross enrollment ratio has reached to 100%, but many of them are not attending the classes properly. There is lack of learning environment in the schools, and that because of the lack of learning environment, it fails to engage the students in classroom. It fails to engage the students in classroom. Why? Because the traditional focus in our educational institution is on rote learning. It is on one-way communication from teacher. Active engagement of student is not there, and because active engagement from student is not there, often they lose interest in education and they start they start skipping the classes. So therefore, attendance goes down. Okay, then guys, understand this thing, that then the next problem is teachers pedagogy. Now pedagogy is a skill of imparting education to somebody else. So teachers pedagogy, teachers skill are redundant. Now basically when we talk about teachers, there is inadequate training, there is a poor governance, lack of support to teachers. Fine, for example, IT aids are not given to teachers. Okay, training is not given to teacher, that how to use the audio visual formats in the class. So teachers fail. Often there are the governance challenges also. Sometimes the teachers, out of their laziness, are not engaging meaningfully with the teachers. There is no proper supervision, there is no proper accountability. So what is needed? There is a need of a paradigm shift. The way we see the things, we need to change it. So basically, learning deficit, if it has to be addressed, there is an urgent need to shift from traditional rote learning to the model which promotes active learning, that promotes experiential learning. Critical thinking, out of the box thinking should be promoted. Fine, should be nurtured in the students. We need to find out the new ways. So number one, we need to redefine the teacher training. So there is a separate component of teacher training right now, but their major focus is on teaching the theories to teachers. But rather than that, major focus should be on practical understanding. So we need to emphasize practical interactive teaching methods, and basically 70 to 30 ratio of practice to theory should be followed. In the teacher training program, 70% focus should be giving the practical knowledge to teacher, how to deal with the class, how to deal with the doubt, how to engage the students, how to ensure that you maintain a decorum in the class, but at the same time you are not killing the creativity of students. Such practical learning is to be given. 70% focus should be on practical learning, 30% focus should only be on the theoretical learning. Okay, so necessary skills, communication skills, engagement skills should be taught to teachers. Create supporting environment for teachers, create supporting environment of teachers, give them regular guidance, give them regular mentorship, give them regular hand holding. Okay, so such kind of a things is needed. Then promote student engagement. Fine, students should adopt structured lessons, cultivate high quality teacher student relationship, encourage students. Okay, encourage students. Fine, now see, give them choices in learning wherever possible, give them choice to choose the elective subjects. Okay, fine, shift focus to the right to learning. Now see, what happened, government through 86th Constitutional Amendment Act introduced Article 21A, right to education. But within the educational institution, is learning happening or not? So we need to move from right to education to right to learning, where the output of learning should also be focused. So that is all guys about this particular article. I hope you have understood it, and now let's move to next article. A fresh stance. Now this particular article we are going to see with respect to GS paper number 3, India's India's multilateral trade and related issues. Also in GS paper number 2, of India's FTAs, okay, India's PTAs, preferential trade agreements. We'll see this particular article. Now, first of all, before going in this article, let me give you a certain background information. So actually what has happened recently, India has come out with trade and Trade and Economic Partnership Agreement, TIPA. Trade and Economic Partnership Agreement, TIPA. Now this TIPA agreement has been signed with European Free Trade Association countries, EFTA countries. TIPA has been signed with the EFTA countries. Who are these? Who are these EFTA countries? It contains Iceland, Liechtenstein, Norway, Switzerland. So basically, India has signed this TIPA agreement, Trade and Economic Partnership Agreement, with these four countries. And this particular agreement was picked way back around 2008 by the UPA government. But after UPA government, but after some time, this particular thing was kept on the shelf. Now government has finally culminated this TIPA agreement with these four countries. Now this particular agreement has many ambitious it has many ambitious expectations. Number one, it will open a lot of opportunities for Indian professionals in these countries. So it talks for the easier visa norms. There will be easier visa norms, easier entry norms that will be there for Indian professionals such as the architects, accountants, nurses. They will be given the easier visa. Okay, so they will get a meaningful employment there. Also, this particular agreement will facilitate more foreign direct investment (FDI) by these countries in India, and it aims to channelize at least $100 billion of FDI in India from these four countries, and which will translate in 10 lakh jobs, around 1 million jobs in the next 15 years. Okay. Thirdly, now basically what will happen as trade barriers will come down. Okay, Indians will also get the benefit of affordable products from these particular countries. Now see, when we talk about these particular countries, they are known for their wines, chocolates, and many such products. Right now, lot of high tariffs are imposed, but as the tariffs will go down because of this agreement, so the producers in those countries will benefit from access to basically Indian consumers will enjoy lower prices on wines, chocolates. Okay, fine. Also, the producers can get better machinery, better technologies, better equipments. Then basically after that guys, what there is a this particular policy has a clause. This policy has a clause that after 20 years there will be an assessment that will be done, and on the basis of good things that have happened, we will further reform, will further augment this particular agreement. Now guys, also understand this particular thing, that certain things need to be focused. Now see, India is doing good in terms of signing the FTA. For example, what has happened recently, we have signed the free trade agreement with the UAE, we have signed a free trade agreement with Australia. Now we have signed the free trade agreement with these EFTA countries. We have signed the free trade agreement with the EFTA countries. Now this is good. UAE, good thing. Australia, good thing. EFTA, good thing. But there are lot of other areas also where we are not performing good. For example, with UK, we are negotiating the free trade agreement from a very long period of time. That is BTA, Bilateral Trade and Investment Agreement. We are negotiating for a very long period of time. Even in the today's newspaper, I have shown you. But progress has not happened. So riding on the momentum, India should immediately finalize the free trade agreement with the European Union and UK. Okay, so continuous momentum should be maintained. Also, we need to ensure that continuously we are evaluating these FTAs. If there are some kind of an irritants that are coming, they are needed to be immediately be resolved. So there should be continued diplomatic engagement. Then in this particular free trade agreement, there are many non-trade issues that have also been taken. For example, labor reforms, human right violation should not be there. Fine. Now see, as the trade will increase, there is a possibility that as the trade is increased, fine, many number of times the laborers, their human rights are not being respected. So human right should not be violated, environment violation should not be there, gender issues should be addressed in the respective countries. These things have also been taken up in this agreement, TIPA agreement. So this is good, and we need to continue it in the other FTAs also that we sign with the other countries. Okay, then also there should be mechanisms for regular monitoring and assessment that we have already discussed. So this is guys all about this particular article, GS paper number 3. Now moving on to next article on judges and bureaucrats joining politics. Now, this article will see with respect to GS paper number 4, GS paper number 4 ethics, GS paper number 4 ethics. Okay. Now, basically what has happened recently? Recently, one of a judge from Calcutta High Court resigned. One of a senior IPS officer in West Bengal also resigned, and they are joining the political parties and are looking forward to contest the elections. Now, this particular thing has highlighted has ignited a debate that whether there should be some restrictions on the people holding constitutional offices to go and pursue the political ambition. Now, guys, if you see in many of the constitutional office bearers, there are many restrictions on them. For example, many of them are not eligible for the second term. Many of them are not allowed to get any other government service once they have served in a particular office. So many restrictions are there. In the same way, should we put a restriction on their political ambitions also? Yes or no? This debate has started. Now, first of all, guys, Constitution establishes a system of checks and balances among the branches. Fine, legislature will make law, executive will execute law, and judiciary will ensure that everybody is doing their duty properly. Okay, checks and balances is there. Many bodies are there. For example, Election Commission, Public Service Commission, CAG. Their autonomy, fine, their independence is also ensured by giving them fixed tenures, by ensuring their financial autonomy, etc. Restrictions are imposed fine on certain post retirement vocations. For example, Supreme Court judges, they cannot practice law in any court in India after the retirement, because then that might lead to certain concerns. Now see this thing, if Supreme Court judges are allowed to practice after their retirement, then what might happen? There might be some expectation of reciprocation that will come. Okay, fine. Similarly, if we talk about many of other officers, fine, the people holding many other important offices, fine, they have a restriction that they cannot get the job with the government. Okay, with the government. For example, the CAG, Comptroller Auditor General of India, chairman, member of Public Service Commission cannot take up any other employment with central or state government after leaving their office. So, on job there is the restriction. Even many of the public office bearers, they cannot join private sector at least 1 year after their retirement. Okay, till the 1 year of their retirement. There is the restrictions are there. But there is no restriction in contesting elections. There is no restriction in contesting elections. So there is no constitutional restriction on judges or senior government officials joining political parties or contesting election. And we have seen that many of such Supreme Court judges have done that. If I show you, here we see the example of Calcutta High Court judge, one IPS officer. In past also many such examples have been there. I will show you. So in 1967, 1983, two of the Supreme Court judges resigned from their post and contested the presidential and parliamentary election. Okay. Then what happened? Another Supreme Court judge joined a political party in Tamil Nadu and contested elections after his retirement in 1999. Then a former Chief Election Commissioner became a Rajya Sabha member and a minister in 2004. Okay. A retired Chief Justice of India was nominated to Rajya Sabha in 2020. Will not take the names. So many such examples we see that the constitutional office bearers are entering the politics. So some way forward suggestions have been given. And the way forward that is there is that there should be the mandatory cooling off period. Now, Election Commission of India in 2012 recommended a cooling period, means that for a particular period, let's say 3 years, 5 years, they should not be allowed to contest election. They should not be allowed to join a political party. They should not be allowed to hold a political office. Such restrictions were imposed. But actually what has happened, government has rejected it. Government has rejected it. Even Supreme Court said that if such cooling off period restriction is to be imposed, then that restriction will be imposed by the government. Now actually why such cooling period is not imposed? Because according to Attorney General of India, it has been said that see, it will not be in harmony with the democratic principles of constitution. Anybody is free to contest elections in India. So therefore, in the representative democracy, it will not be right to put restrictions. So therefore, such cooling off period is not there. However, now we should consider that at least a few important offices which holds a lot of clout, there such restrictions should be imposed. So this is guys all about this particular article. I hope that you have understood it. And now moving to next article. Supreme Court stops Assam government move to denotify rhino habitat. Okay. So basically, guys, first of all, let's focus on this particular map. So here we have the important protected areas, ecologically sensitive areas of Assam. Now, if you focus here, here we have the Pobitora Wildlife Sanctuary. Here we have the Pobitora Wildlife Sanctuary. If you see little bit on the western side, we have the Amchang Wildlife Sanctuary here. Amchang Wildlife Sanctuary. If you look towards the site a little bit more west, here we have the Deoparbil Ramsar site. Here we have the Deoparbil Wildlife Sanctuary. If you go towards the eastern side, we have here the Lakhova Wildlife Sanctuary. If you go little bit towards the northern side of the Pobitara Wildlife Sanctuary, here we have the Orang National Park. Fine. Here we have the Ramona National Park, Manas National Park. Here we have Kaziranga National Park. Okay. So today we are going to discuss about this one, that is the Pobitara Wildlife Sanctuary. So basically, when we talk about the Pobitara Wildlife Sanctuary, first of all, keep this particular thing in mind that it is very much important because you might be knowing about the one-horn rhino. One-horn rhino. So when we talk about guys, one-horn rhino, highest concentration, I'm talking about concentration, not population. Highest concentration of one-horn rhino is in the Pobitara Wildlife Sanctuary. So therefore, it is important from the environment point of view. Now, what has happened recently? Recently, Assam government has decided that they will withdraw the notification. They will withdraw the notification by which they constituted Pobitara Wildlife Sanctuary. So Pobitara Wildlife Sanctuary was constituted 26 years back. Fine, 26 years back. Okay, in 1998 Pobitara Wildlife Sanctuary was constituted. So that particular order will be withdrawn. Fine. Now why? Government says this particular thing that see, when this sanctuary was wildlife sanctuary, Pobitara Wildlife Sanctuary was declared, it was declared without settling the rights of the people living in these forest. Okay, so basically here we see, fine, there is the Thenga Bhanga community, Murkata community and Mayong community that lives here. My apologies if I pronounced some name wrong. Fine. So these communities have lived in the villages within these protected areas, and their community rights, their land rights were not recognized, and this particular area was converted as a wildlife sanctuary. And you know that there are many restrictions on the rights of the people living in these sanctuaries or in the protected areas. So government says that we are withdrawing this particular notification to declare Pobitara Wildlife Sanctuary as a sanctuary. Now Supreme Court has stopped the Assam government, will not allow you to withdraw this particular notification. Fine, to withdraw this particular notification. Supreme Court had said that you cannot withdraw this notification without taking the permission of the National Board of Wildlife, and also environmentally it will be a devastating thing if you withdraw this particular notification, because you know that how much concentration of one-horn rhino is there. So this is all about this particular issue. Fine, I hope that you have understood it. Now moving to next article. PM launches a portal for marginalized section. We'll see this particular article for prelims examination. They ask, okay, this particular Pobitara Wildlife Sanctuary, its locations I have shown you. Fine, important for prelims examination. So for prelims as well as for social justice, GS paper number 2, we'll see this article. So Prime Minister has launched प्रधानमंत्री सामाजिक उत्थान एवं रोजगार आधारित जन कल्याण scheme, and by the same name a portal, that is PM Suraj portal. So what is the short name of this entire scheme? PM Suraj. So PM Suraj scheme and PM Suraj portal has been launched. PM Suraj scheme and PM Suraj portal has been launched. Now what is this scheme? This particular scheme or this particular portal aims to provide support to entrepreneurs from socially backward classes, scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, and other disadvantaged section of society. So they will be provided the credit assistance, and on this portal they can know the status of their application, whether it has been approved, not approved, what is the status. So this portal will be one stop point where people from disadvantaged sections can apply for the credit and can monitor the progress of all loans and credit schemes that are there for them. So this is about the PM Suraj. Is e-commerce for MSME exports? So we'll see this particular article for GS paper number 3. GS paper number 3, issues related to MSME sector. Issues related to MSME sector. Now, first of all, guys, when we talk about MSME sectors, that is the micro, small and medium enterprises. They are backbone of Indian economy. Around 40% of manufacturing output is, when we talk about them, so around 40% of India's manufacturing output, it is produced by the MSME sector. But many number of times, because of the government compliances, they are not able to perform economically. Now, what has happened? Niti Aayog in a report has recommended that MSME, just a minute. So Niti Aayog has recommended in a report that MSME, they are burdened with a lot of compliances, particularly in terms of the exports if they are making from marketplaces. Now you see this particular thing. Amazon is a marketplace. Amazon is a marketplace. It is an e-commerce platform. It is an e-commerce platform. You order any good product from Amazon, it will be delivered. Now, when we talk about Amazon, there is also Amazon US. There is also Amazon US. There is also Amazon UK. There are a lot of products which might not be available on Amazon India. So you can order that from Amazon US. You can order them from Amazon UK. Okay. Similarly, let's say there is an American person, and American person doesn't find a particular product on Amazon US, but he finds that particular product on Amazon India. Now, let's say that particular product is being manufactured by an MSME. If MSME in India through the Amazon India wants to supply a product to US, fine, through Amazon, there are a lot of compliances that are there. And because of these compliances, often MSMEs, they are not able to export products through the e-commerce websites. Now, Niti Aayog says this particular thing, that China exported $200 billion worth of goods through e-commerce websites in 2022. India exported just $2 billion of goods through e-commerce websites. Why? Because if you want to export a good from India to other country through e-commerce websites, there is a lot of compliances that are there, and these compliances often cannot be followed by the MSME sector. So therefore, they don't export through e-commerce websites. So it has been said that when there are a lot of things, payment reconciliation is there, fine, and then there are other export compliances that are there, other mandatory checks that are there, fine, which these MSMEs are not able to fulfill. So therefore, it has been said that we need to simplify the merchandise trade process. There should be a single national trade portal for all the approval and compliances that are needed for exporting the product through e-commerce. Fine. So all this process is to be simplified. Also, it has been said that, see, we say that 38.4% of India's manufacturing output is by the MSMEs, and we say that MSMEs contribute 45% of the exports, but these numbers are again to be verified. Okay, again to be verified. Now see, if MSMEs are allowed to export products through e-commerce websites, they can perform really good in the sectors such as handicrafts, handloom textiles, Ayurvedic products, herbal supplements, leather goods, imitation jewelry, that is fake jewelry, wooden products. Fine. These things have a market of $340 billion, and India can export them through the MSMEs. So these compliances are needed to be reduced immediately. Fine. That is all about this entire article. And now moving. Okay, here we have this article. Nothing much has come, but actually what has happened. So, Securities and Exchange Board of India, SEBI chairperson, fine, Madhabi Puri, had said that REITs, InvITs and municipal bonds offer high growth opportunity. So just as a matter of concept for economy, we need to see what are these REITs, InvITs and municipal bonds. Okay, so first of all, REITs. REITs stand for Real Estate Investment Trust. Real Estate Investment Trust. What it is? It is an investment option. It is an investment tool. Now, guys, see this thing. Suppose I want to invest money in the real estate. I want to invest money in the real estate. But to invest money in real estate, a lot of capital is needed. I might not have that capital. Let's say I have just 10,000 rupees. Now, with the 10,000 rupees, I cannot get the taste of real estate investment. So therefore, there are these REITs, that is the Real Estate Investment Trust. What they do, they pool up money from the retail investor. Let's say I want to spend, I want to invest 10,000 rupees. You want to invest 50,000 rupees. Somebody else want to invest 1 lakh rupees. They will pool this money and will invest this particular money in housing complexes, in shopping malls, in other commercial buildings, in real estate projects. They will invest the money. Return money, profit that they will make will be distributed amongst the investors. So through REITs, you can invest into the real estate projects such as the shopping complexes, housing complexes, other commercial properties. Then there are the other investment tool, that is the Infrastructure Investment Trust. Through this, you can invest in infrastructure projects such as the flyovers, ports, roadways, etc. And then there is the municipal bonds. What are municipal bonds? Municipal bonds are the debt instruments used by the municipalities. So municipal corporations, they want, let's say, money to develop a parking. They want money to develop other utility service. So they can issue municipal bond and can raise the money and will give the interest to the people who are giving money in municipal bond to a municipal corporation. Nowadays, people are becoming very much interested in REITs, InvITs and municipal bonds, and they have emerged as a high growth area for investment. Okay, so this observation has been made. Okay, this is guys all about it. Now with this, we come to an end to the today's session. I hope guys that you have understood it. Now we'll be meeting tomorrow. Till then, please take care of yourselves and please download these synoptic notes from the Telegram channel. Also guys, if you want, you can attempt MCQ questions on the articles that we discussed from our Telegram channel. Link for Telegram is given in description box. So that is all guys about it. I hope you have understood it. Now we'll meet tomorrow. Till then, thank you so much.